How can we cause the largest number of people to understand that we are in fact all one, to understand our unity?
The environment has to be changed so that we are supported in a way where we respect each other, while our value systems have to understand that we cannot survive any longer through our logical reasoning with the competitive mentality that's been perpetuated for so many generations. If the environment continues to reinforce this selfishness, it's going to be that much more difficult to climb out of it. So if we create an environment that helps us to have the courage to give, and it rewards and reinforces giving, then I think we'll move much more quickly into that type of bestowal mentality.
What we're beginning to see now is the fall of all the major institutions, whether it's economy, politics, education, healthcare, every fundamental level of institution in the world. So there's going to have to be changes at every level. And it starts with education and awareness. Why? Because the knowledge we bought into of who we are and why we're here turns out to be archaic beliefs that are not supporting our survival. We have to go from our old limiting beliefs that brought us to the current state of the world, rewrite those beliefs so that as we take the next step forward, we do so with new awareness, new power, and a new understanding of where we want to go. So we need to change education.
Just imagine what would happen if we changed our environment completely. What if we would constantly hear in the news, through art, entertainment, advertisement, that we're all interdependent, that we're all interconnected as one integral system? How would our world look like? How would you relate to all the others in that system?
You would suddenly begin to feel that you relate to others as somewhat close to you. You will be less concerned about how do I exploit the other, how do I manipulate others, take advantage of them. You'd begin to see that the other person is somehow close to you. You'll have some affinity towards the others, like they belong to you. You'll start considering them just like you think about your children or your family. You take them into consideration when you think about doing something in life. You think, how will it affect them? So that is the kind of change we need to go through. And it can happen to us through the proper environment that we create for ourselves.
There is a great potential, because it's not that everybody has to change at the same time. What we talk about is a critical mass. You don't know how many people have to change for it to spread. But the fact is that when people begin to think differently, begin to act differently, that has an effect on others, it spreads.
Scientists at RPI have found that when just 10% of the population are deeply committed to an idea, their idea will always be adopted by the majority of the society. Now, what's interesting is their mathematical model shows that it's like a spontaneous leap. That is, below 10%, there is no visible progress. However, above 10%, the idea spreads like wildfire.
I don't think it's going to occur first on the whole among the leadership, neither political nor business leadership. I think there are always exceptions, and there are very enlightened political leaders, the enlightened business people. But on the whole, these people have too much stake on the present system, and they are afraid of change, because their own base of power and wealth lies in maintaining the current system. So the change has to come from elsewhere. I don't think it can come from the very poorest people. The very poorest people, maybe 2 billion people in the world, try to survive somehow. They have to get the food and the housing and the job and the healthcare and the education that is a minimum requirement. We can't expect it from that, maybe 200-300 million people who are really the wealthy and the leading classes. It has to come from those who are in between, who have a choice, who are becoming increasingly concerned, and who know that something needs to be done, and the hope is that they will wake up.
I think the problem with global crises is that from each individual's point of view, it becomes difficult to know what do I do about it.
When I say my ego and transform my ego, it's an illusion. How can I transform my ego when I'm dependent on so many other egos? So because of the efforts of a few, changes will start occurring. How? Because the pressure, evolutionary pressure, is acting on everybody. It's just that they don't have the right context. All they need is a trigger. The trigger will be provided by this upper echelon of people who are working together to develop positive emotions. So they affect a much bigger number than is indicated by the little community that started it. So one little change in one little community can affect a much larger human community. And the interconnectedness that we have through the internet, interconnectedness of the ego, all of a sudden, without even knowing that it is doing so, will change and establish itself. And therefore changes can come very fast.